Here are 20 things you need to know about San Antonio, living here, moving here. Some you will love, others you will hate. I'm gonna say this one more time and I promise I'll leave it alone. San Antonio Express News called me out and said, quote unquote, the worst city in the US. And here are the things you need to know. Hours before releasing this video, San Antonio Business Journal reports thousands of businesses have left downtown San Antonio, according to the US Postal Service. Not hundreds, but thousands. Developers seek to partner with County on Tower Life. Plan to turn the 31-story Tower Life building into 230 residential units for affordable housing, making an income limit here in San Antonio. This is something you need to know because it is going to change the makeup of downtown San Antonio Riverwalk and the tourist attractions. There's a whole lot of established restaurants and amenities that are right downtown. Just north of downtown and south of downtown, there's a ton of great developments that I'll talk about later in the video. Change of addresses, according to the United States Postal Service, the 78205 has seen an exodus of businesses and residents. And honestly, I think there's better vibes just north of downtown by the Pearl area, Government Hill, Tobin Hill, and also just south of downtown, which is Southtown, King William, Lavaca. You're gonna enjoy those areas much more. The second is this city is always under construction. According to the Texas Highwayman website, these are the construction projects that are going around San Antonio and the suburbs. The major one where you're gonna see the worst traffic is on the northwest side and also the I-35 corridor, which has a $1 billion development that is pretty much an expressway from downtown San Antonio to South Austin. And if you look at this map, most of the construction and developments are happening just outside Loop 1604, which is where the city has been growing past, and the inside of 1604 is pretty much landlocked. If you had to pick, where do you think the worst traffic is in and around San Antonio? Next one's gonna be the allergies. I know my wife really suffers from these allergies and she's from here. I don't get them so bad. The 2022 rankings of the worst city and state to live in for allergies, San Antonio made the top 10 list. Next one was a big problem for me. When I moved here from New York 12 years ago, I had an issue with understanding how the transit system works. And most other people have the same problem. This KSAT article says, why does San Antonio struggle with mass transit? And I think half of it is cultural and half of it is the infrastructure. So I think culturally we don't really want to be commuting with other commuters. Maybe it's just me, but I still can't understand the transit bus system. And many people have argued for years that more needs to be done when it comes to mass transit in San Antonio. From streetcars to light rails, there have been efforts to expand transportation offerings, but these efforts have not been successful. I remember a few years back, there was a voting for a trolley system to get people around from the inside of 410, and it was shot down by the voters. I think this is why Elon and other companies are trying to take over the mass transportation system in San Antonio, because people are unhappy with it. Another thing that locals blow up in the comments section is the San Antonio drivers. So I really dug deep into this, and I realized one day when I was driving to work, you can on-ramp a interstate at 70 miles an hour and literally 300 feet later get off and have to do 30. Now when you add different driving experiences, plus traffic, plus commute times, plus frustration, you may have some impatience. Next is the city of San Antonio politics. The mayor right now in the city of San Antonio is in the Democratic Party. If you look at this map on bestneighborhood.org, it has a colored map with conservatives and liberals. Within this loop of 1604, you have a very blue map, and then as you go outside of it, it starts to get pinkish, and then in the outskirts is very, very red, like bleeding red. Politics is something that's always going to be controversial. Here in San Antonio, I feel like people are pretty accepting, but if you're not accepting, let me know. According to payscale.com, it says that San Antonio is 9% less cost of living than the whole United States. 18% less for housing, 11% less utilities, and 11% less groceries. Earnings needed to maintain current standard of living is going to be $43,000 a year, which is about 10% less than other major Texas cities. Now, looking at our family's budgets, the clients we've helped around San Antonio, and just talking to people who live here, this website is actually pretty spot on with the averages of what things cost. Now, I've only lived in New York and San Antonio, Texas, so I really have those two extremes to compare. But lately in the comments below, people are saying that it's not affordable, but it also depends where around San Antonio you want to live, which is a perfect segue to what we want to talk about next is affordability. On my website, I have an affordability calculator that you can specify to what you're looking for. So let's say you have two people in the household making about $50,000 and you want a down payment of a house of about 10%. Let's say you have a car, student loan debt, whatever you have, let's say it's $1,000, 30-year fixed, 5.5. Tax rate is going to be around 2%, but I also factored in homestead exemptions, and if there's any other exemptions that you have going on, that's about the average. With home insurance, you can afford, according to this calculator, $266,000 house, which in this price range give you 827 properties all around San Antonio and the San Antonio suburbs to look at, and I feel like this is pretty good choices, especially with the lower prices. And the secret is if you're outside the city limits, you get to pay less taxes. No offense, City of San Antonio, please don't write another article about me. Which in that price range can also be a new home. And if your average household income is around $200,000, then the affordability calculator says your affordability can be $674,000. And in the $600,000 range, you have about 152 properties to choose from. And these homes can be very nice on larger lots and also customizable. And of course, it can go up from there. For this, I'm not gonna quote any articles. I'm just gonna speak from the heart and my experience here in San Antonio for the last 12 years. San Antonio is a big, small town and various lifestyle opportunities in and around the San Antonio area. If you wanna live in a neighborhood with a pool or a clubhouse, you can do that. If you wanna live with no HOA, on some acreage or an acre, at least so you can't see your other neighbor, you can do that. If you want to live downtown and overlook the Riverwalk and make fun of tourists, you can do that. If you want affordable housing but still be close proximity to all the amenities, you can do that. In the last 12 years, I've been very fortunate to be in and out of neighborhoods all over the city, both as an agent and a police officer, and it is so diverse in whatever lifestyle that you want. I know in the comments people are probably blowing it up just to tell you how much it sucks here so you won't move here, but I'm here to tell you the truth and what you need to know, because if you can't find what you're looking for, at least I saved you some time. Overall, in the last few years, San Antonio home prices have gone up, affordability has gone down, cost of living has gone up, but one thing stays true in San Antonio is the large employers are still hiring. The suburb of Windcrest put this on their website. You have the top of this employer list, which is Joint Base San Antonio, which is 3 military bases, but it also has other military bases on the list. You have HEB, USAA, Methodist Healthcare Systems, which now has much more annexes and other employers. You have Toyota, now you have Tesla that's here, whether you like Elon or not. Harlan Clark, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Rackspace is leaving, but Cisco is also a huge employer, and a ton of manufacturing jobs. You have Caterpillar and other agricultural companies. There's a lot of diversity in the employee base, both to work from home and going to work. The city of San Antonio is starting to see a little bit more crime, and crime is something you need to know around where you want to potentially live. According to this KSAT article, violent crimes around the San Antonio area is the highest in Balcones Heights, which is just directly north of the downtown area in San Antonio. And then ranked is San Antonio, Kirby, Universal City, Converse. Now we're getting into the suburbs of San Antonio, which is further away of the city of San Antonio. And then directly on the City of San Antonio website, you have a 2021 and 2022 comparable of both crimes against person, crimes against property, and crimes against society, and all three rank higher every year. Not really something to celebrate, but it is something you need to know if you're considering to move around the San Antonio area. As a former San Antonio police officer, I have to say that the police and the public and its relationship is very, very good, especially compared to other cities. This Disrespect News article says that San Antonio is much happier with its police departments than other cities. More San Antonio residents are satisfied with the police departments now than 4 years ago. Residents gave overall satisfaction of 72% for the police department this year, up from 64% in 2018. Next thing you need to know is the availability of homes in different price ranges. you can buy a home 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, up to $1 million and have a say in where you want to live. Right now in this market, the availability of homes is much more than it was 6 months ago. And especially they're willing to drop prices and give more incentives now more than ever. Here are the things you can do around the San Antonio area to keep yourself entertained. In no particular order, you have the Pearl, you have Breckenridge Park, which is a very beautiful park, Lock and Terrace Shopping, New Braunfels, which has a lot of diversity in restaurants, food, floating the river. You have Canyon Lake, you have Rebecca Creek, and other finger lakes around the San Antonio Hill Country. Now, restaurants is something that people spend a lot of time here in San Antonio. I feel like the restaurants here in San Antonio are less expensive and you get more for your buck. Having traveled around the United States, San Antonio prices are pretty good. Although when I went to Utah, it was pretty cheap, but the food was terrible. It is very common here in San Antonio to find a restaurant with a full playground. When I first saw it, I couldn't believe my eyes, having 50 beers on keg, giant margaritas the size of your head, where your kid can go down the slide and swings and blocks they can play with, but it's very common here. Lower home price, lower cost of living, low median house price, it all sounds good, but what about the tax rates? If you're watching this video, you probably already know that San Antonio has one of the highest property taxes. Towns and cities around San Antonio will average around 2% property taxes to 2.8% around the San Antonio area. Here we're looking at a website from David Bollinger, and I'll name some of the popular ones. Alamo Heights 2.3, Balcones Heights 2.8, Bulverde 1.8, Castle Hills 2.6, Castroville 2.5, Converse 2.6, Garden Ridge 2.0, Live Oak 2.6, Lytle 2.4. What you need to know is the city of San Antonio has around a 2.6 average property tax, but if you go outside of the city into Bexar County, it's around 2.4. But if you go outside of Bexar County into the neighboring counties like Guadalupe County, Comal County, Kerr County, those are gonna hover a little bit lower than 2%. You'll be a little bit further away from amenities, but some people want to be further away from amenities. The San Antonio highway system is like a big web, which is awesome because if you zoom out to the entire state of Texas, everything pretty much comes to the hub of San Antonio. You have the inner loop of 410, you have the outer loop of 1604, you have 35 that pretty much cuts across the city, you have I-10 that goes across the city, and Highway 90 goes across the city. So access pretty much everywhere can get you everywhere. On average, you can get from any point in the city in about 20 to 25 minutes with traffic, 15 to 20 without, except those areas with construction and maybe worse. San Antonio is very known for Fiesta. Fiesta is a month-long celebration with different events, parades, specials, people drinking on the streets. San Antonio has events before Fiesta, and San Antonio has events during and after Fiesta, and will even have mariachi bands playing at your home to celebrate the culture. This is something you do need to know because if you don't like the celebration, partying, and different events across town, it may not be the place for you. Fiesta San Antonio originated back in 1891 and has been a party ever since. And from the culture of celebration, San Antonio is now picking up a little more of an Austin music vibe with its concert and live music venues growing here in San Antonio. Tobin Hill is known for the music scene along with Dignity Hill, and now it's bleeding over into the Pearl District. The San Antonio Pearl Stable is now going to be a music hall. I'm sure the San Antonio downtown residents wouldn't mind a little less parking and a little more loud music. And if that wasn't enough, you have First Friday, which is the first Friday of every month that people go bar hopping, they jump on their bikes, and it's a thing. And it's also incorporated into the art of San Antonio and different street vendors. We got 2 more left, and the last one's gonna give you great perspective of the city. The location of San Antonio itself. On a map, San Antonio is about 2.5 hours from Houston, about an hour and a half from Austin, about 4.5, 5 hours from Dallas, and more importantly, it's only 2 hours from the beach. But you don't get the humidity like Houston, and you don't get the hustle and bustle of Dallas and Austin. And finally, the growth and opportunity that is here in San Antonio. I feel like San Antonio is one that is so diverse, it's so flexible and versatile that anybody can plug in here and you have a lifestyle of whatever you're looking for. Out of all the major cities, San Antonio had the biggest tech boom. You're starting to have hybrid batteries that are coming. You have Tesla factories that are coming. You have Elon running for mayor. Just kidding. You have everything from agricultural businesses to universities to tech industries. That is everything you literally need to know. If you're looking to move around San Antonio, our team would love the opportunity to help. Shoot us a message.